Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to IDP Study Abroad Open Day. So we have with us today Miss Lynn, coach at ICON. So she'll be presenting on tips to ace your ISAT test for medical schools. So let's all welcome Lynn.
Thank you, Laila, and hi, everybody. Okay, so it looks like we have a relatively small group today, which is nice. So I think we can just begin immediately because we have like half an hour. Yes, let's begin with a little bit of introduction. So for some of you may have seen me yesterday for the UCAT session. So anyway, here's the introduction all over again. So my name is Lynn and I'm one of the coaches at Icon Plus Education, where we specialize in test prep preparation and test preparation and also like other aspects of the application process. So I will tell you guys a little bit more about us at the end of the presentation. So let's actually jump directly into the ISAT because that is what we are meeting here for today, right? So the ISAT, you probably should know, stands for International Student Admissions Test. So I think it's probably clear from the name. It's basically a test that you need to take if you're an international student who is looking to study medicine and some related programs at most universities in Australia, like the only exception being the University of Adelaide, for which you'll have to take the UCAT. Okay, so yeah, here is a quick table that summarizes everything that you need to know about the test. The ISAT, like the UCAT, is a computer-based test, and the format actually will be very different. You'll have 3 hours to answer 100 questions. There are no separate sections. It's just 100 continuous questions for 3 continuous hours. And among these 100 questions, they'll actually be split into 2 categories. There's critical reasoning and quantitative reasoning, and we'll talk about what they are like in a moment. For the scoring, each of the 2 groups of questions will get you a separate score on the scale of 100 to 200, and then your overall score will be the average of these 2 scores. That is why the scale for the overall score is also like between 100 and 200. In terms of the test dates, on the slide, I've put these are the dates for 2022. So there will be 3 cycles that have been publicized for this year, one in May, one in August, and one in November. So you can choose whichever one you want to sit for, as long as like it fits into like the application schedule for the schools that you're interested in. The results do come actually kind of slowly for a computer-based test. So it can take up to a week. If they are fast, you probably can get your results like in 3 or 4 days from the test day. But yeah, it can take up to a week. And as with the UCAT, there is a limit on how many times you can take it. So you can only do it once every 12 months. So if you do it now and you want to try again, let's say you want to try again, then you'll have to wait at least 12 calendar months from now, right? And well, one thing where it's different from the UCAT is that the results will, once you get them, will stay valid for 2 years. So it kind of is a good thing. If you are very confident that you can score well, you can maybe take it a little bit earlier and get it out of the way so that you can focus on like other things. Because I mean, you probably will be very busy like in the months leading up to the application deadline. Right. So if you'd like more information about the test, of course, we are happy to answer any questions you might have. So you can visit our website or give it a phone call. You can find the contact details on our website, or you can send me a message. That's also fine. Or you can also take a look at the ASA website, which I've put on the slide. Okay. So next up, in terms of like what the test actually is like, so the 100 questions will be presented as units. And then what a unit is basically like a piece of stimulus followed by several multiple choice questions. And the stimulus can be very diverse. It can be anything, can be text, can be a graph, can be diagram, can be cartoons, can be any combination of this. So it's very, very diverse. There will not be any like specific subject knowledge that you'll be tested on. So no like physics knowledge, chemistry knowledge. Well, it sometimes may be helpful to have them, but they won't specifically test you on that. And also another thing that is important to remember is that in the ISAT, you cannot use the calculator. So any calculations you need to do will have to be done by hand. Okay. So here are the two categories that I mentioned, critical reasoning and quantitative reasoning. Basically, like the simple way to think about it is that the critical reasoning stuff are more of the verbal or textual stuff, and the quantitative reasoning are more of like the statistical or numerical stuff. So like verbal versus math. That is kind of oversimplified, but that is basically the main division. The content is a little bit different, and of course the skills tested will be different. Okay. And so I mentioned just now that your score will be on the scale of like 100 to 200. So then the next question you might have is, okay, so then what is a good score? And then, so for that, we normally rely on the percentiles. So what a percentile is it's the percentage of students in your cohort. So in the entire year, whose score is below your score. So if you're in the 80th percentile, for example, that means that 80% of students who took the test in the same year as you did scored, like got a lower score than you did. So that sounds pretty nice, right? And I think normally, like in order to have like, to be fairly confident in having like a pretty good chance of getting through to an interview, I think we probably want to be in the 80th percentile or above. And that, like what is an 80th percentile changes a little bit from year to year, but it's, I think like from what we've seen in the recent years, it's been around 175. I think for last year, the 80th percentile was 176. So yeah, it's around there. And most of our students do score in the 80th percentile or above. So yeah, just something that we are very proud of. All right, so I think without further ado, why don't we just jump directly into like a sample question and just see how we do and how you find it. So if you guys attended my session yesterday, my UCAT session yesterday, you probably already know how I roll. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'll flash a question on the screen and then I'll give you guys some time to do it, not a lot of time, so there will be a time limit. And then after that, once you guys are done, if you feel so inclined, maybe let me know that you're done by typing the answer in the chat. So just the letter would be fine, like A, B, C, D. And then we'll go look through the answer together and see, talk a little bit about like tips and strategies along the way. Right. One thing before I show you the question. So I mentioned in the beginning that for the ISAT, you should have 100 questions to do in 3 hours, and 3 hours is 180 minutes. Right? So the math should be easy enough. So like 180 divided by 100 is 1.8. So that is how much time you have per question. Like you should be aiming for around 1.8 minutes per question at the maximum, right? So then for this sample questions, I'm actually going to run that number down. So instead of 1.8, I'll give you guys 1.5 minutes, so 90 seconds, and then just see if you guys can try to finish the question within the time limit. If it's a little bit challenging, it's still okay because there's still the buffer of 0.3 minutes, but just try to push yourself to try and finish them in that amount of time. right? So let us just move ahead. So here is the first question, and I'm going to start the timer now. All right, so that was 1.5 minutes. I do see, oh, I see Lila's answer. Yeah, so everybody else, if you guys have any thoughts, feel free to let me know. I'll just start going through the answer, but yes, let me know what you think. And then if at any point you guys have any questions or doubts, feel free to let me know, and I will be happy to like just resolve anything that you might have. Okay, so for this question, right, the first challenge is actually to just like look through all of this information and identify what you actually need to use for this question, because this is way more information that you would need for one single question, right? So just find the stuff that is important and then like, ignore everything else for now. So for this question, it's asking you about the number of trips, right? Average number of trips. So then anything that doesn't talk about number of trips, anything that talks about distance, like the number of miles, you can just safely ignore. So I've created them out on the screen. You can also ignore anything that tries to talk only about a portion of the population, like the 15%, 69%, whatever, because we are looking for the average per person, like in the whole population. So we are not like trying to split people into different groups. So then after I've created out all that stuff, I'm actually only left with like the first chunks of the first two bullet points. And then this is like of all the information, these are the only bits that actually are relevant to the question. And now if we use them, we can figure out the answer. So first it tells us that, okay, so 14 cycles trips per year. And then this accounts for 1% of all trips, right, by all modes of transportation. So then this first tells us that, yeah, so like for all modes of travel, you should have 1,400 trips per person per year. But then the question doesn't want trips per person per year, it wants trips per person per week. So then we need to convert year to week. And then that conversion works by dividing by 52. One common mistake is dividing by 48. So you might think that 48 and 52 are not too far apart, but it can sometimes make the difference. So just be careful with that. So there are 52 weeks in a year, not 48. So just keep that number in mind. So if you ever need to convert between year and week, divide by 52. Right. And 1,400 divided by 52 is going to give you 27. So then that is going to be our answer. One note before we move on from this question. So remember what I said just now, every calculation you need to do, you have to do by hand. So this is a calculation that you can totally do just by long division. There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally possible, but it may take you a little bit more time than you might like. So an easier way to do it is probably actually to approximate 52 to 50, and then dividing by 50 is a lot easier because dividing by 50 is the same thing as doubling it and then dividing by 100. So like 1,400, if you double it, that is 2,800, and then divide by 100, that would be 28. And then you choose whichever answer is the closest to 28. Okay, so yeah, that is how we do something like this. Okay, So if there are no objections, let's move on to the next question. And then this other question is also a quantitative reasoning question, but it will be a little bit different because it will contain some more like statistical, like kind of like in the table, information in the table. Right, so here is the question, and the same thing again. I'm going to start the timer and then let me know what you think. Yay, okay, time is up, and I see that Vincent and Karen both choose C, and both of you guys are right, so that is wonderful. For this question, the first thing that we need to do is actually identify what the three major household types are, right? And that would just simply be the ones with the largest percentages. So that would be couple with children, couples without children, and then one-person households. Now, what the question is asking for is the year in which the percentages of the three will be the closest to each other. But then note that all of the years that are given in the answer choices, they are not actually in the table. So we'll need to use a little bit of interpolation to find basically the years in between the years that they give you in the table. So one place to start from, right, is by looking at, okay, the trend that actually is happening in the table. So actually the trend is like all three of them are on a consistent trend. So like the couples of children, like the percentage is consistently dropping. For couples of children, it's consistently increasing, and same thing for one-person household. So that really makes our life a lot easier. Also, if you are interested in finding the year in which like the numbers are the closest, then it probably would make the most sense to look around this year, 2011, because in 2011, the numbers are already super close. It's like 28, 28, 27, right? So then like since all of them are following a consistent like upward or downward trend, then the year that we're looking for probably will have to be around 2011. So then that means that B and C, because both of these are so close to 2011, are probably going to be more likely than A and D. Okay, so now B 2008, that is 3 years before 2011, and then C is 3 years after 2011. So now we need to think about, okay, do you want to go forward in time or backward in time? And for that, like actually the trend in the numbers is going to be helpful in helping us figure that out, because okay, if we're at 20, 20, 28, 28, and 27, if we want to bring the numbers closer together, you want the 27 to increase, right? So bring the 27 up and bring the 28 down. So, and in order to do that, it's gonna make more sense to move forward in time, because if you want to increase the 27, you need to go forward in time because like it's on an upward trend. And for the 28, like, yeah, so that a couple without children probably won't really fit that. But for couples with children, like if you want to bring this down, you also go forward in time. So then it would probably make more sense for the answer to be C rather than B, just by that logic. Okay, that actually is already our answer. C is the correct answer. If you really want to do it, you can use like kind of an interpolation, like just use a little bit of math and calculation to figure out like what the numbers actually would be like in 2008 and 2014. So I've done the math and put them on the screen, but I would say that in the amount of time that you are given, it's probably a little bit too time consuming and not really worth it to do so. So I would say basically the idea is that if you can avoid doing calculations, then don't do calculations. And then if you have to do calculations, then try and do it in a way that makes your life easier, like by approximating or estimating the answers wherever it is possible. Okay. All right. So then I think by now we have seen two quantitative reasoning questions. So why don't we just put this aside for now and have a look at a critical reasoning question and see how that goes. So as I mentioned, the critical reasoning questions, they're going to be less on the numbers and more on the verbal stuff. So yeah, let's see how we do with that. Right. So same thing again. Here is the question, and then we have 90 seconds. All right. So the time is up, and guys, let me know what you guys think. But yeah, so this is an example of what critical reasoning can be like in the ISAT. Actually, ISAT questions can be very, very diverse. You can encounter anything, and this is one kind of question where like you probably won't see it like very often outside of the ISAT, but basically what it's testing you on is your ability to understand and classify different categories of information and then apply those categories to like an external like application scenario. Right. So what is going on in here is that we have two different aspects. Oh, I see some more answers in the chat, and those look good. So yeah, so in here we have two different aspects. We have like the frustrated versus happy, and then we have conformist versus rebel. So then we probably should look at them separately. So for frustrated versus happy, we actually have a definition in the text. So let's use that. So basically it's saying here that a person will be considered happy if they believe that they are what they would like to be, and frustrated if otherwise. So then if you look at this very closely, so the front part, like they believe that they are, so that actually is pretty much the same thing as aspect number one. It's literally using the same words. And then what they would like to be, that is literally the same phrasing as aspect number three. So then what actually this means is that happy versus frustrated is about the relationship between 1 and 3. So if 1 and 3 are the same, then you are happy. If 1 and 3 are different, then you are frustrated. That is what it is. And then for this individual, we are told directly that there is a difference between aspects 1 and 3. So then that means that for this individual, 1 and 3 are not like together, 1 and 3 are different. So then that would mean that this person is probably frustrated because he is not what he thinks he would like to be. Right. So then from that, we can actually already eliminate B and D because we know that he cannot be happy. He has to be frustrated. Okay. Then for the other one, conformist versus rebel, for this one, we are not given any definition. So then for this, you'll have to rely a little bit on your own external knowledge. And specifically, what we need to apply here is basically our own understanding of what it means to be a conformist and what it means to be a rebel. So, okay, so normally when we talk about a rebel or a conformist, so a rebel is basically a person who doesn't want to do, who doesn't like to do what people tell him to do. So it's kind of like about not wanting to like conform to what society tells you you should do or what society tells you you should be, right? So then that means that, okay, like it definitely has to involve aspect number 4, because 4 is about what you think others want you to be, right? So then in the actually, like if you can't figure out like, oh, what should you compare 4 to 1 to 2 or to 3, then actually if you look in the like information that you're given, like you are the only pieces of information that you're given is that there is a consistency between 3 and 4, and then something between 1 and 2. But then, like, because you know that it has to involve aspect number 4, so then it has to be about this pair, 3 and 4. Okay. So then if you look at 3 and 4, 3 is about what the person would like to be, and 4 is about what the person thinks that others would like them to be. So then if these two are similar, then the person wants to do what people want him to do. So that would be a conformist. If 3 and 4 are different, then that would be the person doesn't want to do what people want him to do. So that would be a rebel. Right? And then for this person, it says that there is a consistency, so a similarity between 3 and 4. So this is a guy who wants to be what people want him to be. So that is going to be a conformist. Okay. So yeah, so frustrated and then conformist. So that should give us option A as the answer. Okay. Okay. And I think, so I hope that that kind of gave you guys a good taster of what to expect in the ISAT. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on, the questions in the test will be very diverse. There will be all sorts of things that they can ask you to do, and all sorts of interesting like tables and graphs and things that they can throw at you. So ISAT actually is a very fun test because you actually never know what to expect. Right. But anyway, so the skills and like kind of like approach should be around the same. So try to like break down the information into like manageable pieces and try to identify what it is that is actually relevant to the question, because most of the time they'll give you way more information than you actually need to use. And then for all the quantitative reasoning questions, again, like this is something that I always emphasize to help you guys save a bit of time. So if you can do it with no calculations, then don't calculate. If you have to calculate, then try to make your life easier by either estimating or approximating the answer. Okay. So yeah, and that is the end of the presentation of what I wanted to share with you guys about the ISAT for today. So if you enjoyed the half an hour sampler from today and you would like to see more of our ISAT content, then this is something that I'm very excited to introduce to you guys. So this is a new digital product that we are launching literally tomorrow. And yeah, so it's called Gateway Plus, and what it is a digital learning platform for every aspect of your university application journey. So that would include, of course, all the standardized tests, including the ISAT, the UCAT, and also other aspects of your application, like personal statements and interviews. Okay. And it really is like an all-in-one place digital platform, like think Netflix. So basically, like it is a platform that houses like a lot of like video lesson contents for really everything. Like on the screen I've put up here, these are some of the tracks of content that we've already uploaded. And yeah, we have like a full like ISAT program. So if you're interested in the ISAT, you can sign up with us and you will see all of the video lessons that walk you through every component of the test. Okay, so yeah, so if that is something that sounds interesting to you guys and you would like to find out more about it, then here is a QR code that you can scan, and then we are offering a free 7-day trial for every new sign up, and then you can like just give it a go and see if that is something that you will be interested in subscribing to for the long term. Right. So other than that, so if you guys have any questions, of course, you can feel free to contact me or contact us through our website. And if you have any questions for me right now, please feel free to either type them in the chat or in the Q&A, or just let me know in whichever way you're comfortable. Okay. So then that is the end of my presentation. And any questions, please keep them coming. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for your presentation. And for all the students, you may contact Lynn directly, set up a meeting if you have any questions.